What a f***ing operation, holy shit. Hi, I'm Phil.
Hi, I'm Old.
Yesterday was Rein's birthday. Everyone say, happy birthday. Yeah. For Rein's birthday, we're gonna make pho, the soup. It looks like this soup over Rein's head. Here's a list of everyone who ever requested pho in addition to Rein. Oh, you can put Rein's name on that list too. Pho is my favorite food in the whole world. As such, I have taken it upon myself to learn how to make it in a pretty good trademark fashion, and the problem is that it takes a long time. So sometimes it's not worth, but today it will be worth. Okay, be free. Alright, here I have my soup pot. I believe this is 3 gallons. 12 quarts, or whatever, what's that metric? So, pho is a Vietnamese soup that is basically like a beef bone broth with various pieces of meats and some vegetables and some rice noodles, and it's a very tasty soup. So you gotta start by making a broth. Over here I have a selection of meats that I've selected to make the broth. I'll tell you what each of them are. I got a beef shank. So this is like, I think it's a leg that they like sliced like this. These are beef bones. I don't really know what they are, but to make a nice broth you want like collagen and beefiness and fatiness and beefiness. So I think those will be nice. I got the fat end of a beef brisket. That's my favorite part of the brisket. This actually won't really affect the broth too much, but it'll be a nice meat to serve with the soup. And then I got these beef chuck neck bones, and there's like nice little bits of meat, lots of collagen. So basically I'm gonna throw all these in a pot. Okay, so just dump them in there. To make a nicer soup, we are actually gonna bring this stuff up to a boil, let it simmer for a little bit, and then discard the water and fill it up again. And the purpose of this is to make a clearer broth and remove some of the impurities from the meats.
Do you put any of the veggies in the broth?
Not at this point, because we're gonna discard that water. But the next time we fill up the water, we'll put them in.
I just learned something.
So you pretty much only want enough water to cover it the first time, otherwise it's gonna take 20 years to boil. So get that on, high heat, put the lid on, and once it's boiling, we'll let it go like 15 minutes or so, and I'll show you what to do. But meanwhile, we can work on other stuff, like cleaning up this goddamn dirty kitchen. All right, so speaking of those vegetables, an important method or component of pho is the ginger and onion flavor that you'll be imbuing into the broth. However, you don't want just regular old flavor, you want it to be charred. So I got this enormous knob of ginger. Knob is a funny word. We'll split it in half like so. And I also have this enormous onion, which we will probably quarter. So if you have a gas stove, this is a pretty easy thing to do. But if you don't, you can use a broiler. But basically you're trying to char these vegetables. Basically like the optimal level of char for flavor is to have like some black char on the outside. If you go below that layer, there'll be like a little bit of cooked vegetable, and then the inside will be raw. And so the idea is that you get all 3 dimensions of those vegetables in your broth. And you can actually just put these straight on the grate. And you have to carefully monitor these and move them around, and it probably will get a little bit smelly. And if you got a smoke alarm, I suggest you do like I did and just remove it from do the room. I never want to. I have it like hidden in a drawer somewhere. But this is something you can do ahead a little bit. Also, these you can do the same thing on a grill if you got like one of those handy. So I'll show you what these look like when they're closer to being ready. We will be back. So here I have got the ginger. It's looking pretty charred there. Very charred on that side. So we'll just like set these aside as they get to an appropriate level of doneness. You can see like the onions, like they literally have like big charred pieces and raw pieces too. That's what you want. Multi-dimensional flavor. And also just burning onions. So to set them aside. This got pretty stinky in here. That was easy. Alright. While we're still waiting, we can keep prepping. This broth will be flavored with a variety of spices. And I'm actually, I'm gonna go that extra mile that I don't normally. I'm gonna wrap them in a cheesecloth sachet. And the nice thing about that, You want the cheesecloth? The sachet makes it easier to remove the spices from the broth. So I'm just gonna cut a little bit of that. This is unbleached cheesecloth. I don't know why that's important. So the actual spice blend is gonna vary depending on what you prefer. But common spices include a couple cinnamon sticks, some star anise or anise. These are little pieces of
allspice,
little berries. Some cloves, about 5 cloves there. And I'm gonna add some fennel seed, about a teaspoon, and I will add coriander seed, about the same amount. And we will wrap that up carefully, and then I'm gonna do something, I don't know. I've never really messed with this too much, but I think I'm just gonna cut it up and then tie it up. I'm sure there's some better way to do this, but this seems like an okay way. Okay, so this is our little flavor bundle. There's that. So the broth can get the flavor, but at the end you can just fish this out and not jump on seeds while you're eating. And I think until that, we're getting there. Until that comes up to a boil and we clean the meats off, there's not really anything else to do right now. You could prep your toppings and stuff for later, but we gotta cook this for multiple hours, and I think it'll be better if we cut them up fresh. So, be back in a little bit. Hope you guys are enjoying the episode. Not that I really care. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, this is our initial boil. All of that are the impurities we're trying to get rid of. And so just with that very first boil, all that stuff, we're gonna wash it away. So let it go like this, 15 minutes, then we're gonna bathe the beef. We're gonna give it a bath. Leave the top off, just like you're on spring break. Okay, it's been a short time, got plenty of impurities. Gonna dump this and start anew. Shit. It's good! So it's very steamy in here, as you can tell. It's very beefy in here. So I'm gonna start out by trying to rinse out my pot, because it's got lots of beef scum. Looks kind of gross. Try to rinse that out as best we can with my water blaster here. And is it gonna be perfect? No. Another option would be to use an entirely different pot, but then you gotta do more dishes. Yeah, that's relatively clean. Maybe we'll give it a once over. Give it a once over. The more time you spend on this, the cleaner your broth will be, but how important is that in the grand scheme of things? Not that much. So with cold water, each beef piece, rinse it off as best you can. And this is just anything that was left on there, blast right off, and you can put it back in the pot. Now I gotta put more water in it. And because I'm impatient, I'm gonna use hot water. I'm gonna use my brain. Put it in the sink, it's so much easier.
Wow.
Now you can add your onion and ginger. All that stuff, it'll taste great. Don't forget that spice sachet. Damn, it smells good. Now that we're up here near the top, hopefully we won't boil over. Back to the boiler. And from here, we're gonna bring all of this to a rolling boil, reduce to a simmer, and then we'll be happy. You see all those charred bits floating? We're gonna filter those out later. You don't eat these onions. They're soup onions. You chop up some fresh onions later for the final version. We'll be back. It's gonna take multiple hours. We'll be back when I feel like giving you an update, I guess.
Do you simmer it covered or uncovered?
Uncovered. But you can cover it to make it come up to heat faster. You just risk overboiling and having a mess. I don't care. Just gonna leave it off. Bye. It's been hours of losing at League of Legends. We won one game just now. These are toppings: cilantro, basil, limes. Shit. So that mint. Some people like mint in this. Okay, you can see that our broth here has reduced considerably. We're gonna need to strain this, and then we're gonna need to pick out the meat. I have to do this a little bit at a time.
Because you're bad at it.
Slave over this shit for hours, and you just freely insult me. A lot of detritus in there. Bullshit. If you look at the broth we have left, it's really just I think a gallon. Yeah, that's a gallon. We started with at least 2. Now you can work your meats. Let's fish out some meats and some bones and stuff, and we'll do a little chopperoonie for the ones we can. Oh, that brisket. Oh man. This soup meat's so soft I can't even pull it out. All right, I would categorize those as our meats worth saving. But there's a lot of shit in the pot that's it's not worth saving. And we are gonna once again try to rinse out the pot, because the broth ain't done, bruh. I wish it was, but it ain't. Put our broth back in here. One option that you have, and this is one we are not gonna do today because we ain't got time for that, is you can let the broth cool and you can skim the fat off. I ain't got time for that. It's also time to add some sugar. This rock candy is lump yellow sugar. It's a crucial ingredient to this. It's just a specific flavor in there. This seems like a lot of sugar. It is, and it goes. Gonna let that broth continue to go. All right, let's work our meats. This is a nice way to handle your soup meats. You get your little tongs and your knife, and you just kind of scrape off the meat as best you can. If it has a hard time coming off the bone, don't worry about it. That's another general life saying. This is all that neck chuck that cooked long enough for us to scrape the meat out. Really, like, the message you should be taking here is that we've got enough soup meat to last a lifetime, or at least a meal time. Okay, so this is my soup meat that I'm just gonna give like a rough chop apart from the brisket, because we'll save that for slicing. But this will be one of our toppings for our soup. It'll be very tasty, very tender, so it's really a treat. And if you wanted to be more careful and pick every morsel off of everything, that's fine too. I ain't got time for that. Here's our brisket that we cooked for like a generation. And the brisket you can take, you want to cut it against the grain. Tongs will come in handy for this. It'll be very tender at this point. I'm doing a terrible job of this, but you know, that's okay. I'm doing the best I can. There's our brisket. Very tasty stuff. We've got an onion here. Onion is a quintessential part of the soup. We're just gonna thinly slice this. There's our onion slices. We also will need some scallions, the Italian scallions. Get rid of your roots. You got your chili options. You might use a large jalapeno, but you also might use Thai chilies. So we're gonna chop both just so we have both as options. Thin slices as a topping. I like to cut them on a bisect because it's fun. Not a bicycle, a bisect. Show you those hot chilies, Thai chilies. I think these have great flavor, but they're a little bit of a pain in the ass to actually cut. That's because there's so many small chilies. Let's try to line them up. Probably gonna get some stems in there because you're just not as good as you might like. They smell hot as f. Right, they're there. If someone wants them. Next up are our bean sprouts. Yet another plate. Okay, so check this out. I actually found these crazy meatballs. I got the beef tendon meatballs, that's what you normally see. But I also got beef meatballs with the hopes that maybe they'll be slightly different. Who knows? What we're gonna do with those, hopefully, is just get a little bit of the broth and just simmer them up. A lot of places will cut the meatballs in half. That's because they're cheap. They're trying to get you to perceive that you're eating more meatballs. I don't know why I got two kinds. I'm gonna cook them all together. Okay, whole bunch of meatballs there. All right. That should be fine. And I think the very last thing that we need for all this nonsense... Oh no, we gotta cook the noodles too. We gotta work our noodles. Why did I buy 5 pounds of noodles? All right, last but not least, we got ribeye, and this will be our rare steak. So like we were saying, how one of the joys of pho is that you get just like a whole bunch of different kinds of beef, different textures. Typically you'll have some very rare beef as well. So you want to pick a steak. Ribeye's a very good one for this. And you just do real thin slices of it. And this will go in with the soup right at the end. And so we're nearly there. We're really nearly there. I need to season the broth a little bit more. You guys, we're in that home stretch. Our broth needs fish sauce. A lot. We need multiple bottle glugs. It's mainly fish. Also take this time to add some salt. Okay. Most people enjoy their pho with Sriracha and Hoison Sauce, but I strongly recommend trying the soup before you add the condiments. You just gotta be careful. Some people might want them. Let's give this broth a taste. Make sure it's on point or fleek, whatever is appropriate. Honestly, you should just put most of the onions and the green onions straight in. I'm gonna have a couple peppers in there. I'm gonna try to avoid them for the most part. So let those simmer in the broth. We'll save the rest as extra. This broth is so crazy. Honestly, you could probably water it down, but then we'd be bitches. But if you need more broth, that's the way to go. Meatball North Americano. For some reason in my brain, I thought it was appropriate to buy 5 pounds of fresh noodles. That was wrong. There's too many noodles. But I'm just gonna take this big chunk and put it in here. That should be plenty of noodles for us. So I'm gonna show you how I would make a bowl for myself. I'm gonna let my friends make their own. Gonna get some rare steak, put in my bowl. A couple of meatballs, put in my bowl. Should use a different pair of tongs for noodles, but here we are. If there's any kind of like bacteria or whatever, like the hot broth will cook it. That's how soup works. Now I'm gonna start ladling broth with the onions over the top. Don't fill it up too much. Next up, I'm gonna add some of my soup meat. So a little bit of that brisket, some of that shredded chuck, And at this point, I'll add some toppings, such as hot peppers, definitely cilantro. I really like cilantro a lot. Some mint, some basil, which will need to be shredded or just pulled, basil leaves. I like lots of herbs. And finally, some bean sprouts. Squeeze a couple lime wedges in. And that's how you do it. And that is legit my favorite food. This is just the best. So I gotta mix it together. Smells perfect. Honestly, with the toppings, I could maybe use a little bit more broth. That's always an option when you're eating at home. You just keep adding broth. Oh my god, it's perfect. That's my favorite food in the whole world, right there. The broth has that savory spice flavor. We've got a billion kinds of meat in here, all to enjoy. Some of it's rare, some of it's well done. Got meatballs, sakes, those are fun. Bringing fresh herbs, spice, heat, wonderful noodles. Yeah, citrus too. I mean, this is the epitome of food to me. So I hope you enjoy that recipe. I know I will. This is the ultimate sharing food right here. Happy birthday, Rainbow.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.